Hello, everyone, and welcome to the show. Today, I'm excited to be joined by Sheena Yap Chan. Sheena is a keynote speaker, a coach, a podcaster, a consultant, and an author. She does all these things and focusing on the area of self confidence. She currently inspires women through her highly successful podcast called The Tao of Self-Confidence. And I'm kind of low key jealous because she's already interviewed like 800 women, probably more by now. So I'm trying to get to where she is. But Sheena, welcome to the show.
Hey, Erica, thank you so much for having me. Super excited to be here today to just chat with you and share some of the things I've done that hopefully can help your listeners out there, just take a little one more step forward towards their journey.
Right, exactly. I love it. I love it. Thank you. I'm so excited for this conversation. And speaking of journey, as I was looking into you as a person, I see that we kind of have a similar journey because you didn't start off as this like boss chick of self confidence entrepreneur. You had a
No.
little bit of time in corporate, right?
Yeah, well, I had a job for about 12 years
Okay.
selling cardboard paper. I don't normally tell people what I used to do back then because there was too many questions. So they're always like, "Is it like the office?" I'm like, "No, they have another kind of paper." But uh, I always knew working in an office till I was 60 or 65 just wasn't for me. Like I would
Mhm.
sit in my desk and be like, "This can't be it. Like this can't be how my life is going to turn out. There has to be something more out there, right?" But because of how I was brought up, I was just told, do what you're told, never make any noise, and just live one way of life.
Right.
Especially when you migrate to countries like America and Canada, like the American dream is to go to school, get a job, and never rock the boat.
Yes.
And so
Yes.
that's the only way I knew of living as well, because that's all I was told, right? We
Right.
were programmed to go to school and get a medium paying job. Not that I'm saying that having a job is bad, right? If you love your job, that's great. There's a lot of people who love their jobs, but I know there's also a lot of people who dread that alarm clock, who dread going into, well, lately, not a lot of people have been going to the office, but maybe going to the next door in their house with the
Right.
lockdowns that's been happening. But there are people out there who hate their job but are too afraid to go out and do it.
Mhm.
And so actually it wasn't until my aunt passed away about almost 10 no over 10 almost 10 years ago, made me realize how short life is, and made me realize like I did not want to leave or like this planet knowing I didn't do anything for myself, and
Yeah.
to also create a more positive impact in this world. And so it didn't happen overnight, of course, because I was still scared, right? But at least a part of me knew like, okay, I need to wake up and figure something out. And that's okay if you have this like aha moment and you don't do it right away, because we're all human, right? We still have all these fears that we go through. And so just take it step by step. And out
Yeah.
of nowhere, I don't know, I guess something just clicked. Like I saw a photo of Hawaii and it made me want to go there, and I had no idea why I was going to go there, but I just like told everyone I'm going to Hawaii, and everyone looked at me funny because they're like, "Why do you want to go to Hawaii?" I'm like, "I don't know, it just looks cool, right?"
Why not? It's Hawaii. Like, come on.
Exactly. And so I did, things that most people wouldn't do, especially, not what an Asian daughter's supposed to do. I basically like, sold my condo, quit my job, sold all my things, and just decided to go there and had no clue as to why. I mean, it wasn't even anything like business related. I think me going there was just part of my healing to like learn to let go and learn to embrace the unknown and just show
Mhm.
up as my true self. Sometimes we just need that time to ourselves to get to know who we are and know what we tolerate and not tolerate. And it's really important to have time to yourself. And so, from then on, I've dabbled into so many things that did not work out. And so I like to say that so that people can understand, like, you're not the only one who goes through this.
Right.
And about 5.5 years ago, yeah, I think 5.5 years ago, I started my podcast, which is called The Tao of Self-Confidence. And part of the reasons why I did that was because back then with my own confidence issues, I was trying to find resources that really catered to helping Asian women build their confidence.
Mhm.
But the problem was I couldn't find anything, right?
Mhm.
And so part of me was like, am I the only one who goes through this? Like, am I crazy? Right? Because nobody talks about it because of how we're brought up. Nobody talks about how they feel, what their problems are, what they're going through. Everything's always in
Mhm.
the hush hush because we're afraid to damage the family name or the family status or, whatever it may be. And this is so typical in Asian culture, right? And another reason was representation. Growing up in Canada, I never saw anybody that looked like me. I never had any Asian female role models to look up to. All I ever saw was, blonde hair, blue eyes. And a part of me wanted to name myself Heather and also have blonde hair and blue eyes
Yeah.
because that's all I ever knew. And, I talked to a lot of women, especially, women of color, and they're all like, do you want to know my white girl name? So I didn't realize so many women went through that, right? And so for me, I was also creating a stronger representation of Asian women, especially with what's been going on right now.
Yeah.
Society still thinks Asian women are quiet and submissive and obedient or treated as sex objects. And because of that, we're targeted a lot more than men. We're being dehumanized. We're treated as objects. We're not in leadership roles. And so it's really important to create that stronger representation of Asian women. That's why we created Asian Women Who Boss Up, which is this book right here. When have you ever seen a book that highlights 16 Asian women on the cover of a book? Never, right? And then the other book on the other side, International Women of Color, is just as important because you still don't see books that highlight women of color, women from different backgrounds, women who are standing in solidarity, trying to, have the same mission and vision to uplift women from around the world. Because I read an article saying how in a post-pandemic world, in order to have a successful one is to have more women leaders. But how can we have more women leaders if they're saying at the rate we're going, it's going to take 130 years to achieve gender parity? Like, I'm pretty sure you don't want to wait that long because I definitely don't. Right. And so when I started the podcast, I had no clue what I wanted to do. I just knew I needed a platform to speak my voice, to highlight women's stories, to share, especially Asian women's stories. Because to be honest, I was just sick of seeing the same 5 people on stage every single time. Exactly. I'm like, something's got to change. And I tell people, if you really crave that representation, it has to start with yourself. Right. And who cares if you start from zero? We all started from zero. And the only way to go is to go up, right? Build yourself up, then you start building others up, and then it just becomes a huge domino effect.
Yeah. And that's kind of, can I just stop you for a second? So that's kind of the reason why, I created this podcast because, and why I work with women now is because when you look at just, if you just Google like top entrepreneurs, it's men, you know what I mean? And then it's white men and it's no women. If it's women, it's white women, not a lot of women of color. And so to your point, I wanted to be able to bring those stories forward and help highlight those women that are doing amazing things. Yeah. So I completely agree with you. And just the question about the books behind you, because you mentioned them, where can people find those? Just throw that out there right now so they can know.
Yeah, for sure. So for the Asian Women Who Boss Up, you can get the ebook on Amazon. Just look up Women Who Boss Up. And also if you want to pre-order a signed copy, you can go to my website, sheenayapchan.com. Part of the proceeds will go to nonprofit organizations that are fighting anti-Asian racism. So this is a book with a cause. The other book, International Women Who Boss Up, we are releasing this later this month, later in April. So April 27th, I think, is the date they'll be launching on Amazon. So please get a copy because the proceeds to International Women Who Boss Up, the Amazon proceeds will go to will go to a nonprofit organization. Awesome. So these are all books with a cause, and these books are, to me, they're needed now more than ever. When we created these books, we just wanted to empower women, but we did not expect that this book was actually going to be so impactful right now with what's been going on, especially in the Asian community, and also, women of color, right? Like, we don't get enough representation, and, women have been affected negatively by the pandemic, but even more so women of color. And so it's really important to highlight these stories, to showcase powerful women who are doing things, who are able to forge their own path, who are able to overcome obstacles and thrive, because everyone loves a good story where, you've seen a woman who's been at the lowest point of their low, but was able to come out of that fire and be that powerful woman they're meant to be. And like, we're on a mission to create way more books than these two, right? We want to be like the chicken soup of the soul for women entrepreneurs because we need it. It's time, right? Like, last week I actually saw this like Facebook ad, and it was a podcast, like masterclass or virtual event. And, I'm not trying to be mean or anything, but there was no diversity in that photo. Like, I was just like, where's the diversity? And I'm not saying like, yes, I get, there's some people say, oh, you can't just hire people for diversity. I get that, but there are a lot of talented podcasters who are, people of color, and we need to showcase that.
Yeah.
right? But to
Yeah.
showcase just all, all Caucasian like panel, it's like you get sick and tired of seeing that, right? Like
Yeah.
there needs to be a mix, right? There needs to
Yeah.
be a mix, different perceptions, different voices, different skills and talents to showcase from different cultures, not just
Right.
from one culture.
Right.
So
Because you want to be able to see yourself
yeah.
in that, and see like, oh, she did that. I can do this. You
Yeah.
need that type of thing sometimes.
Sometimes we can't relate to them, right? Like
Right.
I can't relate to that person. I'd be like,
Right.
oh, well, they have an unfair advantage, right? We
Mm-hmm.
have to work 10 times harder. And I understand that we have to work 10 times harder, and we will, right? To get the change that we deserve.
Yeah.
But, it's really important to have representation because it shows others what's possible. I remember reading an article and they said that if more women see, women in leadership positions,
Mm-hmm.
they're 86% more likely to go on a journey of becoming a leader.
Wow.
86% more likely. So this is why representation is so important now more than ever, especially for women, because nobody wants to wait 130 years to achieve gender parity, and we definitely need more women leaders. Like, look how many women leaders have handled this pandemic successfully, where there's no community transmission, no cases, and if there is, it's like one or two, versus like in Canada and in America, it's like it's just out of control.
Yeah.
Like here in Canada, the cases keep going up. We don't have enough vaccines. The lockdowns, no offense, are a joke. It's like they tell you to stay home, but they open the malls. It's like you're not doing a service to the people.
Right. 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 Yeah. Yeah. I get it. Yeah. That's so true. I want to go back to something that you brought up actually, though, when you're talking about you saw this gap, right, that didn't exist. And you decided, hey, I'm going to create this podcast and write these books. How did you go about even finding the gumption to say, I can be that person to do this?
Well, for my podcasts, because sometimes you just want to do something for your younger self.
Mm.
That's how, because for me, I was like, I just wish I had that something like this when I was younger. And
Right.
almost every woman I talk to before I interview them say the same thing.
Mm-hmm.
They're like, I wish I had this when I was younger. And, after interviewing over 800 women, mostly Asian women, I realized we go through so many things, similar things. And it doesn't matter if you're Asian or not, women go through similar situations, right? But they also get to know the cultures that we go through and the upbringing that we go through, and why, people may seem to think that we're quiet and submissive. It's not that we're quiet and submissive. It's just how we're brought up. We're told to never make any trouble. Even if something horrific happens to us, we don't say anything because we don't want to attract more trouble or be like we're the ones who's creating the ruckus, even though it's not our fault. But it's really important now more than ever to speak up, because our silence is literally killing us. And I know we're also problem. And that's why I always encourage people to speak up as much as they can. I know not everyone's ready. Everyone, has a different situation that they're dealing with, and that's fine. But, the more people we see speaking up, the more they're inclined to do it, right? It's not just one person. Now it's two people. Now it's three people and four, and so on and so on. And so when they just keep seeing other Asian people talking, speaking up, talking about these issues, uh, they'll find it within themselves to go out there and do it as well, because leadership is about just going out there and doing it and leading by example, right? When you go out there and do it first and they see something, some people really do have to see it before they believe it, right? But leaders already believe it before they see it.
Mm-hmm.
And that's fine. Everyone's different. So that's why you just got to go out there and do it and just be consistent and persistent. And when they see that tenacity, like they know you're serious. They know that, yeah, I've seen your journey. It was a hot mess, but I'm glad you stuck out and you like kept going. And you never know what's going to happen. Like sometimes you just got to shoot your shot, because what if that shot becomes a yes, or the opportunity that you never even thought was possible, right? So
yeah.
I
love that. I love that. Yeah, exactly. Shoot your shot, just try it. I always say I'm a perfectionist, a recovering perfectionist, and that kind of holds a lot of people back, but just being okay with the progress and letting go of the perfection of it all.
Yeah.
I think is a big thing,
Yeah, and I always have this shoot your shot right in, like ingrained in my head, because actually it was a female producer who told me that, right? She's like, I know we try to make everything perfect, especially when you're sending pitches to be on TV or articles to be featured and stuff. And she was just like, just shoot your shot. Like, even if it's not the most perfect, just shoot it, because you never know who might say yes, right? And I think, just being able to keep saying that and just do it, even if you make mistakes, because we all make mistakes. I still make mistakes. Like every time I send something and I'm like, oh man, I should have read it. Or here's like a grammatical error here. But most people, like, of course, there's grammatical warriors, but most of them will understand what you're saying.
Right. Yeah, because the bottom line is, if you think about it, if you see somebody's social media post that has a misspelled word, do you really care? Like, you don't really care about it.
That's me. I'm so good at that. If there's an expert, I'm really an expert on his grammatical errors. I'm not going to lie. But it doesn't stop me from speaking my voice. I mean, if I catch it, I'll correct it.
Yeah. Yeah, it happens. It's like we're human. We're human. I love it. So let's get to this conversation of your expertise of confidence, right?
Oh my gosh. I don't know if expertise is the word, but I'll take it. Some of the things that, like, people don't realize confidence is something that you deal with, you have to work on every single day for the rest of your life. Because,
oh my gosh, say that again for the people in the back. Say that one more time, please.
Okay. For everyone who's listening, I want you to realize that confidence is something that you will work on for the rest of your life, because, you know, as long as we're living, we're going to go through different challenges, go through different environments. I mean, like, this whole thing, the pandemic, it's like the Twilight Zone, to be honest. I never in my wildest dreams would have thought this would happen to us, right? Even in the beginning of the pandemic, I was a hot mess. I thought the world was going to end, and I didn't even want to do anything. Like, I literally just watched K-drama all day and like ate junk food because I really thought it was the end of the world. And I'm pretty sure I'm not the only one who thought that as well. But when it comes to confidence, there's so many things. There are simple things to do, but it doesn't mean it's easy. It's simple, but not easy. Like, it's simple to lose weight, but it's not easy to lose weight, right? Especially when, like, Asian people are huge foodies and carbo lovers. Like, you know, rice is part of life. And so, I mean, that's also a part where, you know, if you want to learn to lose weight, you got to cut that stuff out, right? And sometimes that's not easy to cut out. It's a simple process, but it's not easy. So with confidence, it's the same thing. There's a lot of simple processes, but it's not always easy. But you don't always have to do it alone. You can hire a coach, have an accountability group, and join a group coaching, have mentors, join a women's empowerment group, whatever helps you to get to your next goal, right? Because as women too, we're so proud to ask for help, right? We think it's like asking for a handout, or we think it's a sign of weakness. It's not. Honestly, asking for help was one of the best things I ever done, because if it wasn't for that, I wouldn't be here today talking to you. Right. And for the longest time, I was just a stubborn too. And I thought, like, I don't need help. Like, oh, that's going to be so weird if I ask for help. Like, I'm talking about confidence and then I'm asking for help. That's just not cool. Right. So sometimes we got to learn to let that pride down and let our guard down and just ask for that help. Right. Because there are people out there who really do want to help you, who really have good intentions. Right. They want to see you succeed. They want to see you rise up to the occasion. And we can't do that alone. You know, I want to share this one tidbit. Last week, my grand uncle passed away.
I'm sorry.
Thank you. And, you know, during his eulogy, there was something he wanted to leave for the next generation. He said that you can be the most talented person in the world, but nothing beats working together as a team. So that really stuck out with me, because it's so true, right? When you try to do things on your own, you get overwhelmed, you get burnt out, you end up not taking any action. But when you have a team, or, you know, especially in the internet world, if you have, you know, software that can automate your business, or even just go to Fiverr and ask to do something for you for low price, like, why not do it, right? Why try to do everything on your own? You don't have to do everything on your own. Like, you know, these books behind me, this wouldn't have happened if there was, you know, 15 other women who wanted to participate. If we didn't have a team who was working on the books behind the scenes and doing everything to make this a success, this is all a team effort. And this actually makes a huge difference, in my opinion, because, you know, you're not the only one promoting it. You're not the only one sharing it. Now there's a group of women who are doing it, and that amplifies, you know, your voice. It amplifies the message a lot more than you trying to run around asking every, you know, person, like, hey, come see my book, right? Because now you're not the only one doing it. Now you have a squad, you're creating a movement, and people will be attracted to, you know, the things that you stand for and the things that you're doing to make this world a better place.
Yeah. And I think even the idea of asking for help and having a group, it, to your point, just ties back to confidence, because a lot of times we don't want to be a part of this group thing because maybe she's better than me. Maybe, you know, I'm saying something different and wrong. You know, it's that self-confidence, that self-doubt that comes into play. So
Yeah. I was like that too. And I was interviewing all the
really,
women on my podcast. Oh yeah, these women are amazing. And I'm like, why are they even coming to
I
me? This is
know.
crazy. I mean, I've interviewed a woman who can fly a plane with her feet.
Oh wow.
Okay. She's the first armless licensed pilot because she grew up with no arms, right? And she has an amazing story. And even like I've interviewed a woman who was a drug addict, sold drugs, went to jail for 3 years, and now is a successful confidence coach and was even featured
Wow.
on like John Legend's music video. So like stories like these are really powerful, right? Because you can really see how capable we are as women.
Mm-hmm.
And one thing that we're really lacking is confidence, right? There's a huge confidence gap between men and women. Like, as women, we love to over prepare, right? I mean, I know I do. I'm sure you do. And
I don't know what you're talking
even
about,
though,
Sheena.
okay, so
Okay. Okay.
but we over prepare to a T,
Yeah.
and then there's still something that holds us back, like, oh, maybe I'm not good enough. Oh, what if they say no? Oh, what if I make a
Mhm.
mistake? Oh, what if there's someone else better than me? Then we end up not doing anything, and we lack a lot of confidence due to inaction. Whereas a man who in the same situation would just do it even if he's only 20% ready.
Yeah.
They're okay if they get no, they're okay if they make a mistake, they're okay if they fumble. As long as they got it done and they know the result, then they're okay and they move on to the next. And the
Mhm.
more we can eliminate this confidence gap, the more women we can help rise up. Then we can have more women leadership. We can have we can help the economy a lot more, because I think women do a better job than men. Sorry to all the guys out there, nothing against you, but I just believe a woman
We
can
love
do it
you.
better.
It's funny.
And so this is just not like a small problem. This is a big problem. If we want things to change in a huge way, we really got to help women rise up, help women build their confidence, so that we can have the leaders that we're meant to have the change that we deserve, and even achieve gender parity. Right? So
Right.
yeah.
So let me ask you this, because we keep talking about this term confidence. In your mind, what does that really mean?
I think it's just being able to take action in the things that you want to do, right? I always say actions speak louder than words. And it's scary out there to take action. I mean, I can talk about confidence all day, but when it comes to the act of confidence, that's like a whole new ball game, right? Like that's just like totally different. It's not always easy to like go up there and like talk to 300 people about confidence, right? That's nerve wracking. Like even a couple of weeks ago, I got a producer from China asked me to speak on their show. And this is like a huge network in China. Okay. It was also an English speaking show. Thank goodness, because I cannot speak Chinese I can't speak Mandarin, but I can speak another dialect. But
Okay.
I was looking up their channel to see how many people watch this TV network. And I was like, oh my God, Facebook has 115 million followers. I'm going to puke.
Oh
Like,
wow.
I wanted to puke, to be honest. But if I didn't do it, like I would always be scared and I wouldn't have known what the outcome was. And I wasn't eloquent, to be honest. I think I was a hot mess. Like at one point I blanked out because I had no idea what the question was, and I was just glad the host was nice enough to like set an example, and it made me feel like so much better.
Mhm.
My hands were like ice. They were like ice because it was so cold. And I'm glad we do Zoom videos, because nobody can see, like my armpits were like sweaty from all the nervousness. And this is just me
No.
being honest, right? Like we need a more honest conversations, because people, like, we always want to be perfect in front of the camera and like have these nice Instagram filters showcasing a perfect life. But really, this is real life. Like real life, you're nervous, you don't know what to expect. But a part of me also was glad that I did that, right? It's like, well, if I can if I can show up in this huge network with over 100 million people watching, and still can stand and didn't die, I'm good. I can do, I can do the next thing, right?
Right.
I'm not as afraid anymore, and I'm like, that wasn't so bad as it seemed.
Yeah.
So
I love
and
that
that's
point that.
confidence, right?
Yeah.
Confidence
Confidence
is,
is not the lack of the
yeah.
fear.
Like for me, I always tell people fearless is not about not having fears. It's about feeling that fear and doing it
Yeah.
anyway. And that's what confidence is. Like we have so many fears, but when we can learn to embrace it, it's a magical thing, right? They
Mhm.
want to be able to get to the other side. You got to push through your fears. I even remember doing a talk to kids. Okay. And to be honest, any audience, the hardest audience to talk to is kids, I think, because their attention span is a lot shorter, right? They get bored easily. You want to make sure that the topics that you're talking about really resonates with them. And so there was even one time where I used BTS as an example, and I was like, does anybody like BTS? And there was just like crickets. And I'm like, oh my God, nobody likes BTS. Until one kid was like, I like BTS. And then everyone's like, I like BTS. I'm like, oh, thank God. But one of their questions was like, how do you not get scared when you talk to people? And I was like, well, I was actually scared talking to you guys, but I just went ahead and did it because I knew this would help you in your own journey. So just, being honest with people, being able to tell them, I was scared doing this, but you just can't see it, is really important. And when it comes to confidence, there's so many things, right? Learning to overcome your fears, learning to make the first move, right? Being able to ask questions, right? Just also learning to take care of yourself. Like these things, they don't teach in school. They don't teach you how to, take care of yourself, have me time, learn to overcome your fears, or learn to like just go out there and ask, right? Or make the first move. Like that's not typical things people teach in school, right? It's more like math, science, geography, whatever it is. But these are important life skills that we need in the world, right? Because especially if we want to create the opportunities that we want, it really has to start with us. Because especially when people don't know who you are, like what makes you think they're going to come to you? Like, who are you, right? And so that's why it's so important to just keep pushing, keep moving on to the next. Even if you get ghosted like 3, 4, 500 times, just keep going. And the more you keep going, honestly, it becomes a really great story to share with all the audiences once you're like on stage speaking to 500 people.
Yeah. I love that. I needed that today.
Well, I hope the audience is enjoying all my crazy stories today.
We love stories on this show. That's what it's all about. Like stories help people relate. Stories help people see themselves. You know what I mean? Well, because you have a podcast. Speaking of which, okay, the podcast, Tao of Self-Confidence. This is just my own personal question. The title, like, how did you come up with that?
Oh my God, I have a great story for my podcast. So when I first decided to create a podcast, I actually had a totally different title for the show. I was going to call it The Stripper and have the tagline to strip your limiting beliefs away. And so I went on Fiverr when Fiverr used to be $5. And asked to create a graphic with a stripper and a silhouette of a stripper and a whip, right? And thank God I invested in being in a mastermind, a podcasting mastermind. I sent that graphic to them and I said, "This is my podcast. This is the title. What do you think?" And I thought everyone would love my idea. Right. They're like, that's not a good one. You're going to get the wrong idea. You're going to have the wrong audience. It's not going to pan. 1 out of 10 people probably said it was good. Okay. Maybe 1 out of 20. Okay. And so I was like, man, if I can't even get the title right, how am I going to get the show right? And so I had to just take a step back and really get clear on what this podcast is for. And, I just started going on iTunes before, Apple Podcasts came out, just seeing other people's titles, right? I like to see what other people are doing and kind of model off of that. And so I always saw a lot of titles. It was like the art of. I'm like, okay, but I didn't want to be the next the art of, right? And that's when I started looking at the Tao, right? Because the Tao means the way. And of course, everyone's way is different. And then, a friend helped me out. She's a spiritual healer and she's very in tune with spirit and like, seeing things that would make sense. And she was saying like, your title needs to have the letter C. And so I was like, okay, letter C. And that's when confidence came out. And we just said, how about the Tao of Self-Confidence? So I went back to Fiverr and got it done again with the new title, with a powerful woman in like a office suit with a cape, silhouette of a cape behind her. And when I sent that back to the same group, I got like, I got really great feedback. They're like, fine, yeah, that makes more sense. That is way better. I'm tuning into that. And so I really like sharing the story because we all make mistakes. We all
Yeah.
think we're always clever, that we're the shit. And then when someone rains on our parade, we feel like the biggest loser on earth. And you know, people are just helping you out, right? You're in a mastermind for a reason, to get the feedback that you need so that you can go and do something right. And I'm glad that I invested in that. I know a lot of people are sometimes like, why would you do that? That doesn't make any sense. Why would you invest in this, invest in that? I mean, like, this is an investment for yourself. And if you can't learn to invest in yourself, how do you expect other people to invest in you? And so it's really important for me to invest as much as I can. I mean, if it makes sense, of course, because it's not only like you're investing in a course, you're investing in a mastermind, you're investing in more relationships, and you just don't know where it could lead you, right? You get to meet other podcasters, you get to get to interview them. They know that you have a relationship because of a common thing. So there's a lot of benefits and added value to that people don't really see it, once they like invest in something. And yeah, so that's how I got my title.
I love it. You're gonna have to tell me what mastermind that was after the show.
Yeah, for sure.
I've got a podcast mastermind yet, so that'll be interesting. So, in your time in your podcast, you mentioned you interview, tons of women, right? So, my question for you is, how do you stay motivated to keep moving forward with the podcast, to keep moving forward with the books, and on the hard days when you want to give up? How do you stay motivated?
Oh my God, there are days where I want to quit. I'm not gonna lie. Sometimes I like sit in my chair and I'm like, is this even worth doing? Like, is what I'm doing even making sense? And I'm sure we've all gone through that, right? And
Like 2 hours
when
ago, I
someone
had
sends
that
me
same conversation in my head.
yesterday, I had the same conversation too. I mean, it's not like it happened 5 years ago. It happened yesterday, right? I would like sit there and be like, what am I doing with my life? Like, is this even something that I'm supposed to do? And then I realized, like, yeah, it is, because when I see a woman, talk about the book or send me a message on how the podcast really helped them in their own journey, it makes all the difference. Sometimes it just takes one person to send you something so impactful, because you never know where that one person can go. What if that one person you impacted could be like the next Oprah or the next Michael Jordan, whoever it may be, right? That's amazing, right? And then they realize, and then it's like, that came from you did that. And so just because we might not be able to impact so many people, sometimes we just need to impact one person, because we never know where that one person is going.
Right. And even take that a step further. You never know who that one person, your impact on that one person, and that one person then impacts somebody else.
Yeah, it becomes a domino effect, right?
Yeah, that's great. It's always remembering that you matter. I think that's really, your voice matters, your story matters, your journey, the knowledge that you have, it matters.
Yeah. And I think people don't realize, and this is something that I learned earlier this year, is that your mess is your message. Like, it's okay to be a hot mess sometimes. I mean, look at the most like famous family in the world, the Kardashians. They're a total hot mess, but like, they have a huge following. They're billionaires, and like, they have all kinds of drama and problems. Like, sometimes I even feel bad for some of the things they go through, but it's all out there in the open, right? It's all out there in the open. And yet they're still promoting the stuff that they do, have all these deals. They're still, um, like, they're still doing their everyday things, living their life, having a business, being a media personality, whatever it is, right? I mean, you don't tune into the Kardashians because they're so perfect. I mean, we tune into them because they have drama sometimes, right? Or we're like, there's some kind of scandal that happens to them, and sometimes because they have really cute kids, honestly. Like, they have cute kids, I'm not gonna lie, right? And then sometimes you also tune in because of the lifestyle that they live. But it's not just one thing, it's many things, right? And part of it is also the mess, right? And so when you can take your mess and turn it into something positive, people will want to come to you because they want to know, how did you get out of that mess? Like, seriously, how did you get out of it, right? And then that's when you can start showing them, or create a course, or do a coaching, or whatever it is, right? Like, you can create a career out of it.
So you lead me to another question, right? Because you're talking about the Kardashians and sort of your mess into your message. Now, we live in the world of social media.
Yeah.
Let's say, Sheena, I put everything out there. I bared my soul, and now there are these trolls coming on, shaking my confidence. Like, how do you deal with that?
That's not easy to do. And of course, it takes a lot of work on your mindset to learn that, these people are just keyboard warriors. They have nothing better to do but to just rain on everybody's parade. Can you imagine if the Kardashians looked at every troll that attacked them? They wouldn't be around. I'm telling you, they would probably just shut themselves out from the world. And so that's why we have to learn to really work on our mindset to learn that, these are just they're trolls, or sometimes they're going through something and they have no other form to like let it out, instead to like bully others, right? And I know it's easier said than done. That's why I said it takes a lot of work, right? It takes a lot of work when you start to learn to care less about what other people say about you and focus on the change that you're doing, right? And to help yourself, to help others, that becomes really small. I remember when a former mentor who told me, like, sometimes you got to treat these trolls as like little ants. They're so small. It's not going to matter when you're speaking on stage, when you're getting 5-figure months, when you get people asking you to be on their stage, things like that. Like, they're so small, it's not going to even matter. And that I keep it, have that ingrained in my head, because back then when I first started, I was so scared of what other people thought of me, especially when I started doing video. Like, my first video was a hot mess. It would take me 2 hours to do a 2-minute video. And I was like, oh my God, people are going to think I'm this crazy Asian girl doing YouTube videos.
Yeah.
People are definitely going to laugh at me. They're going to think my voice is weird. They're going to think I look weird. And I'm not, like, there were so many thoughts. And as women, we have so many thoughts. We overanalyze everything to the point where we don't take action. And so it just takes a lot of work, right? I'm not saying it's easy. Of course it's not easy. There's days where maybe one person really triggers you, and it's like it eats you up, and that's the only thing you can think of. But you have to see, how much good you're doing. Focus on the good that you're doing. And sometimes, it's not gonna, it like, the more you keep working yourself, it becomes less of a problem.
Yeah. Yeah. It's all a practice, right? You have
Yeah.
to practice.
Practice makes progress, not
Exactly.
perfection. Progress.
Exactly. Now, with so many things going on in your life, right? We listed off everything in the beginning. How do you, as an entrepreneur, as a woman, as author, everything, stay organized?
I love my Google Calendar. I have, software and programs that automate things. I also, if I need help, I'll search for it, have a team, or even just go to like Fiverr and get something done. Like, if it helps me save my time to focus on something else, I'll pay for it. So
What's your
really having help really does help you kind of get organized and do things, especially with my podcasts. I do season breaks. I plan ahead. I still do my own editing because I actually like it. I just like listening to the stories. And so my podcast episodes are a lot shorter than most people. It's like 10 to 15 minutes
How
sometimes.
do you do that? Wait, are you interviewing?
Yeah, I'm interviewing.
Oh my gosh. I need to fix
So
that.
I usually follow an outline, and I always follow my outline. I've
Okay.
used the same outline for the past, since the beginning I've podcasted. And every time I use that outline, it's always a different story, because we're all different. We all have different experiences. Yes, there's similarities, but there's different ways what people deal with and how they're able to overcome it and what the outcomes are. So having an outline really works. Having, tools and resources that can help you automate things, like being able to send one email to like 1,000 people at the same time, that really helps you save time than trying to manually send an email to like the same email to 1,000 people. Little things like that, right? Or even if you have schedulers, or you pay someone to do that, have a virtual assistant, whatever it is. Like, if you have the money, like, invest in help, because then you can think, you know what can you use your talents for, like your actual talents for, right? Like I said, you could be the most talented person in the world, but nothing beats better than working as a team.
Yeah. Yeah. I love that. Systems and processes are my jam.
Me too.
Um,
I love gadgets.
you love gadgets?
Yeah.
Yeah, especially when you have a podcast, it's very helpful to have things that kind of make the workflow work better. So, what's your favorite go-to system or tool?
So I use a tool, let me see, I forget the name all the time, but it's called Builderall. You can go to
Ooh.
my website and check it out. There's like a free trial or something. But I use that because it's like pretty much an all-in-one system where, there's email, there's websites, there's memberships. You can create it all in one spot. You can have schedulers, you can have chat bots. So yeah, it's like an all-in-one system that I found a couple of years back, and it's something that I love using. Uh, so yeah, if you like, I'll send over a link to you guys check it out. Or it's also on my website, the Tao of Self-Confidence.com. Just click under resources and it's all there.
I've never heard of that.
Yeah.
Just learn something.
Yeah. That's one tool I really love using just because it's all in one. And then like I can send my emails, one email can send to like 1,000 people and I don't have to worry about it. And then, it also tracks everything that you do, who opens, who doesn't open, who clicks, who doesn't click. Also having a podcast, if you have a podcast, you need podcast hosting. So I also like using my podcast hosting because it gives me the stats, how many people go from Apple or what country, how many people listen to this particular episode, because that does matter, right? It helps you figure out who your audience is.
Yeah.
And yeah, just it's all feedback. It's all like
Yes.
Case studies and things like that.
Yes. It's all data. And that's what this whole thing is about, is collecting the data so that you can make better decisions, so that you can be more impactful.
Yeah. And even being able to set up something where you can give a free gift to someone and all they need to do is send an email. I mean, you don't have to be like going out there and saying, hey, can you sign up for this? Hey, can you sign up for this? Like, check out my website. I have a free report called 8 Ways to Boss Up in Your Life and Business, to boss up your confidence in life and business. And if someone wants to go out there, they'll check my website, put in their email, and then you get your lead, right? Little things like that really help in a big way.
Yeah. So I hope y'all peeped that. Go grab that free resource.
So what? I know I like nonchalantly put it in there, but you gotta learn to be like shameless sometimes, right? Especially as women.
I love
especially as women, like we need to learn to just promote ourselves, right? And I know that's a huge thing that we face because it's not proper, it's not ladylike, it's seen as like distasteful. But who decided all that was bad, right? Probably a guy, but I said that in a whisper because I know your husband's there, so I don't want to.
Hear it later. He's okay.
But honestly, like we just really got to go out there and promote ourselves, right? If you want to make sales, have clients, get people coming to you, you really got to go out there and make that first move and promote yourself to the point where you get annoyed with yourself. Like sometimes I get annoyed with myself, but I realize I'm not doing this for me. I'm doing it for other people to show them what's possible, because it's not just about you, right? What if there's like another woman who's looking at you and seeing what she does and she loves what you're doing, and you wouldn't have known she would have been a super fan because you didn't promote yourself out there. And plus, if you have a product or service that can help somebody, you're actually doing a disservice not promoting it. So that's why it's so important to promote yourself, to go out there and tell people, hey, I help people build their self-confidence. I help people, break out of their shell so they can show up as their authentic self, right? And people want to find ways. And if you don't talk about it, they're not going to know about it. And so very important to promote yourself.
I love it. I absolutely love it. So one last serious question for you.
Okay.
If, the women that are listening, if there's someone that's hearing this conversation and they're saying, okay, yes, Sheena, now I'm ready to embark on this journey of self-confidence, what is one last thing that you would tell her, or something that can get her to actually take that leap to do that?
Wow, that's a very great question. And there's so many ways they could do it. For me, I always say take it step by step, right? If it's something as simple, just even saying something nice about yourself, start with that, because as women, we're very critical, right? We are our own worst critic. And even I still face a lot of self-doubt and not feeling good enough. And so I say 3 things to myself: I am loved, I am worthy, and I am enough. And I keep telling myself that until I feel better. And of course, anything you do for the first time is going to feel weird and awkward because you're not used to it. But the more you keep doing it, the more you'll feel better, and the more you get used to it, and it becomes comfortable, and you'll start feeling better. But take it step by step. If you want, listen to my podcast or Erika's podcast to give you that that little boost of confidence to get you through the day, or check out these books that I have. Anything. I think women get empowered through storytelling. This is why it's so important for us to share our stories, because you don't know who's reading it. You don't know who's watching it. You don't know whose lives you're changing by just sharing your story.
Yeah. Awesome. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you so much, Sheena, for sharing all this great information and your story and your journey. It's been awesome, but I can't let you go just yet.
Okay.
Because we have the Fab Four.
Okay.
Are you game to play the Fab Four, Sheena?
I am game.
Okay. 4 quick questions. You already answered one, so we'll come back to that though.
Okay.
4 quick questions. First thing comes to your mind. Number 1, what's the strangest food you've ever eaten?
Frog legs.
Okay. I had those. Did you like them? I didn't like them.
Yeah, it tasted like chicken.
It did. It did. It was just like little tiny little chicken legs.
Yeah.
All right. If you could have a superpower, what would it be?
What's that? To where you can go from one place to another. Teleport. That's the only power I want.
That's it.
That's it.
You wouldn't have to worry about COVID and planes, so that would be a good thing.
Exactly. I'd save so much on air flights.
Right. That's funny. And enough leg room. Okay, so if you had to pick a song to represent your life, what would it be?
Beyonce's Run the World.
Okay. I'll take that. Yes.
Yeah.
I won't sing it. I might get sued if I sing it. And the last one is a finish the statement, which I think you already have, but it's I am.
Oh yeah, I am loved, I am worthy, and I am enough.
Yes, you are. Sheena, this has been an amazing conversation. Thank you so much again for being here. If people want to follow you and work with you and find out about the show, where can they find you? Just everywhere that you are.
For sure. So they can check out my websites, SheenaYapchan.com or the Tao of Self-Confidence.com. Like I mentioned, I have a free report called 8 Ways to Boss Up Your Confidence in Life and Business. I also do complimentary 20-minute one-on-one coaching if someone needs, to help with their self-confidence. You can also pre-order the book Asian Women Who Boss Up through those websites, and you can follow the Tao of Self-Confidence or Sheena Yapchan on all social media platforms except for TikTok because I'm not quite the dancer yet. So and the podcast, you can go on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google Play, all the major podcast directories. But if you forget anything that I mentioned, just Google my name, Sheena Yapchan, because I'm the only Sheena Yapchan on the internet.
That makes it easy.
Yes.
Unlike Erika Brown, that's just apparently there's tons of us. Awesome thoughts. We will have all those in the show notes, guys, as always. Sheena, again, thank you for being here. Audience, as always, thank you for listening, and we will catch you next time.
Thank you for having me. It's so much fun. Bye, everyone.